Hi, I'm Wendy Garrido, and I help 6- and 7-figure business owners show up more authentically in every aspect of their life. And today, I want to set the record straight on the summary of the Nonviolent Communication book by Marshall Rosenberg that you will find on Blinkist. Blinkist is awesome for getting the general gist of things, but as someone who's studied and worked with nonviolent communication for like 15 years now, I was going through it and I was like, whoa, there are some obvious oversights, admissions, and mistakes here that I want to make sure to set the record straight on. So let me consult my notes. Okay, first of all, this was a smaller one, and then I got to the bigger ones as I went through. But it doesn't specify that when you're making an observation, because in nonviolent communication, we call it OFNR, OFNR, observation, feeling, needs, request. The observation, it didn't actually say that that should be something measurable. Like that's another way to frame it, is instead of saying, oh, you're late, and you say, okay, you were here at 8:45 and our meeting started at 8:30, they give an example like that, but they didn't tell you to really look for what is something that is measurable, right? Like a scientific fact that is just fact. It's not irrefutable. That's the time you arrived. So you want to make sure that when you're looking to make an observation, that it's something specific and measurable. They covered the specific, they didn't cover measurable. Number 2, I guess I'm fairly new to Blinkist, so I'm not sure how they would handle these things, but to read the Nonviolent Communication book and not get to glance through a list of the dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of specific words for feelings and specific words for needs, like you've missed out on a huge part of it. So you can look in the description below, and I'll add some links to feelings and needs lists that I really like. Because chances are, even if you think you have a pretty broad vocabulary of feeling terms, I bet there are words on there that you almost never use, but sometimes actually do feel. So there was no feelings and needs list. Number 3, this is really huge and kind of ironic. So in NVC, we make the distinction between needs and strategies. So a need is something that we all share. We have a need. We all need a sense of belonging, right? We all want to have a sense of belonging and independence, but also community, right? There's all of these different needs that we all have, but there are different strategies to meet those needs, right? So if I'm feeling lonely, maybe talking to one person is a strategy for meeting my needs, but they're not the only person in the world that can meet that need. That's not the only thing in the world that could meet that need sometimes, right? So now I'm distracted and I'm like, well, is watching a movie really meeting the need for when you're feeling lonely? But sometimes it could be, or watching a video, it does help you feel less alone. So watching a video would be a different strategy to help you meet that need for companionship. So it could also be like making plans in person, or it could be having a phone call or a Zoom call, or having a Netflix movie night over Zoom, or however people, you know what I mean, a watch party. So there's different strategies that we can use to meet our needs. And one of the things that NVC is really clear on is that it's much easier for someone to be likely to understand you and care about what you're saying and how you're feeling if you express that need instead of being so focused on the strategy. So a feeling might be, I'm feeling anxious, or I'm feeling overwhelmed. And the need might be, I want to rest. We need rest. It could also be peace and order, or predictability, or safety. Those are all examples of needs, which you can see on the needs list. needing the kitchen to be orderly, which is what they said in the Blinkist summary, is not a universal human need. It is a strategy for some humans to meet their needs for comfort, ease, safety, predictability. There's lots of different needs. I don't happen to have a super strong need to have my kitchen be orderly. So, but that's because like I don't have there's no universal need for our kitchen to be orderly, right? I just sort of misspoke the same way that they said it because I'm looking right here on my notes where it says, without having communicated that we need the kitchen to be orderly. No, that is the mistake. Also, there's multiple strategies. Even if you want this kitchen to be orderly, there's multiple strategies for that to happen, right? Because it could be clean it up yourself. That's one strategy for the kitchen to be orderly. Another one would be for me to clean it up, right? So the whole point of NVC is that there are so many different strategies that can meet a need for us. And when we get very focused on a particular strategy in order to meet that need is often when we'll bump heads with somebody. But if we can express and share the vulnerable feelings and needs that we have related to that, then it's much more likely and it's so much easier to be able to find a strategy that can work for both of you. So I was like, holy shit, are you telling me? They did distinguish between judgments and feelings, which was a good one, but they didn't do needs versus strategies at all. And I was kind of shocked. So strategies versus needs. Number 4, this is a thing that happens. So they say to paraphrase the words that someone is telling you instead of reflecting back the feelings and needs that you hear are important to them. And so this is really an important distinction because let's say you come in the door and you say, I'm so angry that you blocked my spot in the driveway. And I say back, oh, so you're really pissed that I blocked your spot in the driveway. You're going to be like, no fucking shit. Yeah, that's just what I said, right? Like, it doesn't really give you... Sometimes it's helpful to just paraphrase back the words that are being said, but that's kind of like a last resort if you can't really access much compassion. What's much more effective is to reflect back the feelings and the needs that you are guessing that someone is experiencing. So if you come in the door and say, I'm so angry that you blocked my spot in the driveway, and I say, oh my gosh, that must be so frustrating because you just wanted to be able to come home after a long day at work and get to the house without having to play Tetris with everything. The person feels like I understood them. Now that was a very long way to reflect that back. And it could have been done more simply, and the kind of more classic NVC way would have been to say, are you feeling frustrated or because you wanted some ease when you came home, right? But to me, one of the issues with NVC is that it can feel very formulaic and it can feel like somebody's parroting things back at you. And so I actually prefer to try not to go back verbatim to what they're saying, but to look for what are the feelings and needs that they have not said, but I can sense are underneath there and that might be there. And then I can make that guess. And I may be wrong, I may be right. They're going to correct me, but I'm not just paraphrasing back what you say. I find that to be so annoying. And that's literally what it says in the book. It said, to make sure you've understood, you paraphrase back what she said in your own words. And I just want to clarify, there's 2 separate things. Sometimes, like I said, if I'm not feeling super compassionate or if I'm not understanding something and I need like the intellectual understanding, then yeah, I'll paraphrase back or maybe even repeat back. I'll be like, so are you saying that because you got home and my car was over here that you got angry, right? Like that would be paraphrasing it. And maybe I parked on the other side of the street and I'm like, what are you talking about? It was there. So this, just to get clear on what exactly are you saying, that's when paraphrasing is useful. But what NVC is really about, and what they're talking about when they're in reflecting back what you're hearing from someone, it's not just paraphrasing, it's reflecting back the feelings and needs that are important to them behind or beneath whatever it is that they're saying. And that really gets at the heart of the matter so much more efficiently. Okie dokie. Last one. Number 5. This is another one. There's like 3 major distinctions in NVC, and they only included one, right? They included observations versus judgments. Maybe I mixed that up when I said it earlier. They included observations versus judgments. They included like fake feelings, which is like when I'm like, I feel like you're a fucking idiot. That's not actually an emotion, right? The feeling is I'm angry. The rest is a judgment that I'm putting on you. So observations versus judgments, and then like pseudo feelings versus actual feelings. Maybe there's 4 distinctions. Needs versus strategies, which we covered. And then the last one is requests versus demands. And this is huge because so often nonviolent communication, maybe you've had this happen to you, it gets used as a fancy tool for manipulation, in my opinion. And it's like, oh, I want my partner to clean up the kitchen. I want my kids to clean up their floor. And so maybe if I just say these magic words in the right order, then it's gonna make them do what I want them to do. When really, the whole point of NVC is to prioritize connecting from the heart over making people do shit or having them do things that they don't want to do. Like the purpose is to find a solution that works for both of us, and also to understand each other better, to understand how we're feeling, what we're wanting, where we're coming from, so that we can come up with a solution that works better for both of us. Which is why if I am making a request of you, but you actually feel like I'm going to get pissed off at you if you say no, it's not really a request. That's what in NVC they would consider a demand. Like, you do it or you pay a price, right? And we all make demands sometimes, but where it gets murky and kind of gross to me is when people are using NVC, this language of compassion, but like subtly making demands of the person. So that's huge. So those are the 5 things. I would encourage you to look into them deeper if you're brand new to NVC, which I assume you are if you're watching this video. But it's really a rich foundation for connection. And the main thing is NVC is about empathy and compassion and our care for someone else, and almost a way of like channeling love and compassion into someone else. So it's easy to get stuck up on the exact words that you're supposed to use, but really it's about dropping into your heart and connecting to the person there. So you could be practicing NVC in a way by not even talking if you're just holding compassionate space for the person. But then if you open your mouth and it undermines that compassionate space, it doesn't really help you so much. But even when you do it and you don't mean to, maybe you're trying to continue to be compassionate, but the words and the way that they come out, it's really like, is this going to make it more likely for the person to hear and understand me, or for them to feel heard and understood, or less likely? And what I love about NVC and that approach overall is that it has helped me find so many more openings for connection with people. And it has helped me learn to sort of, it's almost like night vision goggles, right? Like anybody else looks out there and they just see black, but I can go out there and I can see, I'm like, oh, there's a form over here and this is what's going on over here. And here's the opening because there's no problem here. This is what they're okay with because these are their concerns. So this should be okay. Like it's a whole new level of understanding of human dynamics, I would say. and of communication. So I hope that you found that helpful. And part of me loves how much Blinkist does convey in such a short amount of content, and I think it's actually really quite good. However, I would recommend, and I will be like, if I read something on Blinkist, then I'm gonna go Google one of these videos and see like, okay, well, what are the main points from somebody who understands this better than I do that it's missed? And that's what these videos are. So I hope you find it helpful. Like my video if you like it. Subscribe if you want to subscribe. If you don't like it, you don't really have to hit the thumbs down the thumbs down button. That's fine. Have you seen, this is rambly. My video editor is going to be annoyed that I'm saying such a long goodbye, but that's okay. Glennon Doyle's podcast, We Can Do Hard Things. If you haven't heard of that, you should look it up. And she makes a joke at the beginning about like, if you don't like my podcast, that's fine. You don't have to leave us a bad review. So similarly, subscribe if you want to. And if you really want to leave me a bad review, whatever, do what you want. Okay. Take care. Thank you. Bye.